way cash crisis works. Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing called monetary awareness.
All right, we are checking in for a Sunday RTD news update, and it's been a minute since I've done just a little quick check-in via news, but I had to share my 2 cents on this because it's very interesting yet concerning. And so we have President Trump not even 70 days into his second term, and he's already talking about a third term. And so the question is, why now? And could he actually pull something like this off by basically maneuvering through the cracks and trying to figure out a way to go around the Constitution or something like that? And so we're going to talk about that and a couple other things. But before I move forward, welcome to this Sunday live stream. Won't be before you guys long. Just want to check in real quick, share my 2 cents on the subject matter, and also share with you some feedback that apparently in the Twitter sphere, a lot of people aren't too happy about this either. And so once again, I have a variety of thoughts, but I'll save it as we go through this article here. But most importantly, I'm curious to get your thoughts. So feel free to chime in via the chat or in the comment section, because I think this is something that should have a lot of people concerned. Because once again, there's only 2 or 3 world leaders that I'm aware of that have long-term presidential positions, or whatever we want to call them. And that's what's his name? The North Korean, Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and Xi Jinping out of China. Those 3 have what some would consider long-term positions because they have maneuvered their constitution and things of that nature to get that. And so that looks like Trump wants to do the same thing. So we're going to share our thoughts on that and a couple other things, but make sure I'm flowing smoothly here and we can get it going, man. But yeah, when I saw this, I'm like, this is disturbing. But then again, we'll see what's going on. So before I move forward, as always, I got to make sure I big up my partners over at Colonials Metals Group, and then we'll jump into some headlines. So for those who might be new, you never know, but I want to make sure to offer an opportunity for those that have an interest in diversifying out of the regular 60-40 split that we've all been encouraged to flow in. You can have a chance to do a self-directed IRA that allows you to get physical gold and silver in your possession. So if you're interested, feel free, scroll beneath this video here, click on the tab. It'll take you to this page here. Just enter your information there, download this form here, read it, get all the information you need. And then if you would like to, you can actually contact Colonials Metals Group at this information right here, or call them on 1-888-521-2448 and get your questions answered in reference to the opportunity that definitely a lot of people will want to find out more about, in my personal opinion. But real sweet and simple, I want to just jump right into this. And of course, this article here that I'm going to share can be found over at the RTD news page. And once I get it up here, we can get it going here. And definitely, it's going to be a interesting live stream, people, because I'm curious to hear and see your thoughts on this as well by reading the comment section. But it is the very first article of the day, and I'm going to jump right into it. It says, Trump says he's considering ways to serve a third term as president. And that, to me, is extremely frightening, because if you've been a part of the community for any length of time, you know my concerns and the angle in which I take when it comes to talking about the greater narrative, which has nothing to do with any political party, any candidate, or anything like that. I'm of the mindset they all offer the same relative promises, but we're all heading in the same direction. And at the end of all this, it will not be pretty. That's just my opinion, but everyone is entitled to their own. So let's jump into this article here, and then we'll keep it moving. Real quick here, I got to share my thoughts on this because this was really concerning. And so let's see what the mainstream media gives us, and we'll try to look in between the cracks and make sense of everything. But real quick here, I'll zoom in and read it to you so you can see it if you haven't already, because it's definitely trending over on Twitter. Let me get my page going here. It's trending on Twitter, and a lot of people are not too pleased with that type of action. And so real quick here, it says, let me move myself out the way so you can see what I see. Let's move this around. Okay, this is just some last live minute maneuvers. But it says President Donald Trump said Sunday, quote, "I am not joking about trying to serve a third term. The clearest indication he is considering ways to breach a constitutional barrier against continuing to lead the country after his second term ends in the beginning of 2029. And so the fact that he's quoted here saying he's not joking, I mean, a lot of times we all know that he says stuff off the top of his head, and most of the things, you know, are just typical rants that really don't have any weight to them until there's some type of action behind it. But I wouldn't put it past him to want to stay in power longer for a variety of reasons. And as I mentioned to start this episode off here, because his adversaries or his opposition, as far as Russia and China, the way they would like for us to see it that way, they will be in office well after he's gone. And so whatever he called himself trying to start, he would definitely want to see it through. So I wouldn't put it past him trying to do something that would be very disruptive. So just off this very narrative itself, the very first of many questions I would put forth is, why does he want to do this? How, if at all, can he pull this off? And then where will this take us if he happens to get this type of thing approved or however that comes about? And so clearly, in order to do something like this, it goes against the Constitution, the 22nd Amendment. So therefore, there must be or will be some type of event that would lead him to believe that he can do this and possibly be able to pull it off if we're in a national emergency situation. I even remember prior to this previous election, me being concerned with the fact that I wouldn't have put it past the Biden regime to have done something in the form of a war or something internally via civil war or whatever they were doing with opening up the borders and allowing people to flood into our country, using that as an excuse to either cancel the election or declare some type of national emergency to prolong the previous president's stay in office. So you never know what might be thrown away in the midst of a reset. But once again, if it's being mentioned and talked about, definitely there's probably people working on it. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But real quick here, let me get into some more of the details here. If I can, let me zoom in some more, make it bigger so the people who are watching can actually see this if they're watching it. And let me get myself out the way here. Okay, so real quick here, let's get to this. It says this is quote Donald Trump being quoted, there are methods which you could do it, Trump said in a telephone interview with NBC News from Mar-a-Lago, his private club. He also said it is far too early to think about it. So just those three quotes. I'm not joking. There are methods which you could do it, and it's far too early to think about it. That's enough for me to take him somewhat serious in reference to the fact that there might be some type of loophole or an event between now and that time that would allow him to actually pull this off. And then the next question I would put out there is, if he's going to make it possible for him to have a third term, will we actually have an election process to choose him if that became about for a third term? And based upon how things are starting off in his first 70 days, it's been more disruption than actual improvements to our economy. And some people may say that, the Doge has been beneficial because it's exposed things. But then on the other front, the tariffs, where he even admitted that there will be some pain as we get through all this in the midst of all the other economic conditions I talk about all the time, between the fact we're in a very stagflationary environment, inflation's not going away. He's demanding the Federal Reserve to cut. You only cut when you're in a crisis. So, so you see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of problems are unfolding right now, and he's just floating the idea about a third term. Not the poor timing, but it doesn't surprise me one bit. Okay, let's get to some more of this article real quick, and then I'll share my 2 cents. Then we'll get into some comments from the social media sphere so that you can get an overall consensus as to what people are really thinking at this current moment, given that he's floated the idea of a third term. Because it definitely doesn't help those that are his sort of quote enemies, the other side of the aisle, because they're going to use this come tomorrow morning and they're going to say all types of things like, wow, he's going to be a dictator. It's just, poor timing, poor choice of words, everything else. But that's Trump for you. Anyway, okay, so let's get into it. It says that 22nd Amendment added to the Constitution in 1951 after President Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected 4 times in a row says, quote, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. So my assumption would be he will try to, but literally they're just talking about this 22nd Amendment was put in place after FDR had 4 terms. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some type of constitutional, and it looks like from the way I'm seeing things, you guys can't see what I see, or now you can, so forgive me. But as of now, I wouldn't be surprised if he looks to use some type of constitutional narrative to try to point to the fact that it's been done before. And because of the conditions of our country, where we're at as a people and all those other things, that it might be worthwhile to consider removing the assist or amending the 22nd Amendment for this emergency sake that we're in. I don't know. Just float some ideas out there, but you gotta believe me, it's gonna be a lot of smarter people than myself trying to work on this because that's what he says is possible. Then it says here, any attempt to remain in office would be legally suspect. And it is unclear how seriously Trump might pursue the idea. Says the comments, nonetheless, were an extraordinary reflection of the desire to maintain power by a president who had violated democratic traditions 4 years ago when he tried to overturn that. And so here we have the idea that a current administration, 70 days in office, is already talking about a third term. Very concerning to say the least. But then again, that's typical Trump narrative. Now the question will be, what will he do to try to get this off, pull this off, if possible? And then why? Why does he want a third term? What does he need to accomplish, or what does he feel is necessary that he himself must do it rather than training up men under him or women under him to finish the job that he's starting? So to me, this spells nothing but trouble. This, to me, plays into the narrative that a lot of people love to use from the Democratic side of the aisle, the dictator stuff. He's a dictator. He wants to be dictator in chief, all stuff like that. This type of stuff plays into their hands. So whether or not he's doing this just for some talking pieces for the Democratic side, or this is just another distraction designed to keep people's attention off of the silver squeeze, which is supposed to take place tomorrow on Monday, where the silver community is going to try to drain the vaults of all the bullion banks. So we have to wait and see. But this is interesting. So real quick before I end this, I want to take you to X, because right now this was trending on X. And of course, there's a mixed assortment of people here, but you type in third term and you get all these details here. But just to click on this article here, and let's just see what some of the people are saying. It says here, the very first one, everyone should be against this, even if you are a Trump fan. Quote, he mentioned a scenario where J.D. Vance could run for office and then pass the presidency back to him. So how exactly does one pass the presidency back to another individual? Don't know. Then it goes on to say here, as much as I approve of Trump, no, I don't want him to have another term, because then it just gives cause for Democrats to do the same or worse. Follow the laws, please. It says this guy literally has no respect for the Constitution, no respect for our founders of office. He's a narcissistic psychopath. And so here you have a lot of people. I voted for him. I'd vote for him a fourth time. Yeah, it says here, the method is easy. The Constitution only prohibits you from serving more than 2 terms if they are consecutive. I'm not into the law realm, but that sounds like that could be a way to try to use that narrative. So once again, these are just some comments that people on the social media sphere have right now about this whole Trump situation. But once again, the fact he's floating it, not even 70 days in office, is concerning. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Feel free to chime in the comment section, and let's get some dialogue back and forth, because this is just one of many other situations I'm sure he's going to float out there that sounds completely preposterous. But then again, it's Trump here, so you never know. But anyway, just checking in for a quick minute. Curious to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this, hit that thumbs up. Trying to do more of these little quick news sound bites just because I think they're interesting and entertaining as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Shalom.